Good evening, everyone. During the Great Recession, the tiny house movement began to pick up steam because it offered relatively cheap and ecologically friendly housing options for many people who didn't have. A tiny house is a building that is around 100 feet square, with all of the usual amenities found in a home crammed into that space. Tiny houses have received a lot of media coverage, including a 2014 show entitled Tiny House Nation, and a few weeks ago in the St. Louis area, there were a number of news articles regarding a tiny house village that was being constructed to house homeless veterans and other people while they moved from the streets to more permanent housing solutions. Our Parshat's Terumah, has the first tiny house. The Torah says in Perek Chaf Hey Pasuk Ches, chapter 25, verse 8, V'yasuli mikdash, and the Jewish people, they will make me a sanctuary, v'shachanti b'socham, and I will dwell in their midst. God, who is Malek Hala Aretz Kevodo, God who fills up the entire world with his presence, is asking the Jewish people to make for him a relatively minuscule structure of a few thousand square feet. The average Walmart in America has more square footage than the Mishkan, the tabernacle, did in the desert. The Or HaChaim HaKadosh asks a fundamental question. From a grammatical perspective, shouldn't the pasuk have said, V'yasuli mikdash v'shachanti b'socho, and I will dwell in its midst? Why did the Torah say v'shachanti b'socham, I will dwell in the midst of them? Why is the Torah using a fairly obscure and what seems to be an incorrect use of the Hebrew language? The Or HaChaim explains that the focus was that God would dwell amongst the Jews as opposed to in the edifice that they would build. God was responding to the unspoken desire of the Jewish people. When the Jews were standing at Mount Sinai, they saw God come down from heaven surrounded by his heavenly entourage of the Malachim, his angels. They desired to be that close to God. They desired to be in God's posse. They desired to feel God with them. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem, who is Bochin Levavos, who examines the intentions that people have, said to himself, if you build a Mishkan, you build a tabernacle for me, then I'm going to dwell amongst you, the Jewish people. I will be as close to you as I was to the angels on that fateful day. There's a well-known principle that the Torah is not a history book. The goal of God recounting events that happened in the past is not just to let us know what happened, but it's to give us a mandate. It's to show us how we can live. So what are we supposed to learn from this pasuk? What are we supposed to learn from this verse? We can't build a tabernacle in 2021. In fact, we haven't tried to build one in a couple thousand years. So how is this an applicable message to our everyday life? And I believe the Torah is trying to teach us how we can bring Hashem into our life every minute of every hour of every day. And if we want to do so, we need to invest effort. In Perek Yud Aleph, chapter 11 of Avos to Rebbe Nassan, a parallel text to Ethics of Our Fathers that was attributed to Rebbe Nassan, tells us that God didn't put his divine presence, he didn't put his Shekhinah into the Jewish people until the time that they invested effort first. And along the lines of the Kotzker Rebbe said that God is wherever you let him in. And if you want to bring God into your life, you need to do something about it. So how do we go about bringing God into our life? Tonight I would like to provide two methods that we can employ to do so. The first method is Talmud Torah, is learning Torah. If we learn just 5, 10, even a minute every day, we will be bringing God into our life. Our rabbis tell us in the beginning of Maseches Brachos that any time a person sits down to learn, and by extension, listen to a Torah class, watching this clip from the comfort of your own home, God joins you in the endeavor. It's as if God is sitting right opposite your screen and is joining you in that study. It's as if God is on the other end of your headphones, or God is sitting across from you as you study that book. Our rabbis tell us that when we learn Torah, God is with us. So if we want to bring God into our life, all we need to do is learn something. And better yet, not only should we learn it, we should try to apply it as we go about our day. The second method is focusing on one of the blessings that occurs many times each day. Anytime a person consumes a liquid, has a food that is not coming from one of the grains, or is not a type of produce or vegetable, he or she will make the bracha of sha'akol. The meaning of the bracha is sha'akol niyeh b'dvaro, that everything in the world exists because God had made a statement that it do so. And when we state that Hashem creates everything in the world, we are reinforcing to ourselves that nothing can happen without God's involvement. And when we lead a life like that, we're living with God, because we'll see God in everything that's going on. You know, there's a lot of debate when it comes to tiny homes, whether they are better or worse than other housing options. Some people point to the fact that they don't take up a lot of real estate, so you can put more tiny homes on the same plot of land, house more people. Other people say, well, these homes are too cramped and it does something to people's psyche. But I think people are losing out on the fact and are missing out on the idea that a home is where you invest your life. A home is where you plant your roots and where you build something. If we want to create a home of God, it doesn't matter how big the edifice is. It doesn't matter how tall or big we are, how much we know or we don't know. If we want to build a relationship with Hashem, the more we engage with Him, the more we're trying to bring Him into our life, the closer we'll feel to Hashem. And then it's not about how big the home is or how big we are, but how much love and how much connection is in our home and in our life with God. If we invest effort in our relationship with Hashem, we will be successful at bringing Him into our life. This is just like our ancestors did in the desert when they built the Mishkan. And may we be worthy of bringing God into our lives, and may we be worthy to feel God's presence each and every day.